Hi, and welcome to Crafts with Ash DIY and Decor. My name's Ashley, and today I am bringing you 3 brand new DIYs for spring. There won't be any bunnies or carrots in today's video. I am going to save those for a different video, but I am excited to share these ones with you so we can finally welcome in warmer weather. So stay tuned. Don't forget to check out my other channel, Life with Ash. This channel is a more behind-the-scenes vlog-style channel filled with mama life, mama hacks, cleaning, organizing, hauls, shopping, decluttering, decorating, and even more fun. That channel is all about real life. My hair is always in a messy bun. I live in leggings. I rarely ever wear makeup, and I'm just trying to get through this thing called life. So if you can relate to any of that, jump down to the description box below and click the link to my other channel, Life with Ash, and come hang out with me over there. First, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications so you will be notified of even more fun content heading your way. All right, let's jump right into these spring DIYs. For the first DIY, I'm going to start off with this little arrow from the Dollar Tree. And the first thing we need to do is cut that hanger off. We will not be using it. And then we are going to use my hot glue to fill in the holes. Now, I did not have caulk or spackle or whatever. It's all dried up, but I did see somebody do this little trick, and so I decided just to do that, and it worked out great. Next, I'm going to take my nutmeg apple barrel paint and give this arrow one good coat of that. Now, today's DIYs, they are somewhat easy. They're just a little time consuming, but if you want to create something amazing for spring, then you are definitely in the right place. So just hang with me on all of these. They come together beautifully. Now we're going to do something that I actually don't believe I've ever done, and we are going to do the crackle method. So what you're going to do is you're going to wait for your bottom coat of paint to dry, and then you're going to take Elmer's glue. You're going to spread it all over your piece. And you want to take a brush and just make sure to cover your entire piece. And then while it's wet, so while the glue is still wet, you're going to take whatever paint you want to paint the top. So I'm choosing to do white from Waverly, and you're going to give it one good coat. Now try not to put layers and layers of your paint on your piece, because then it won't crackle as good. But once you are done painting it, use your heat source, your hair dryer heat gun, and watch the magic happen. Look at that. Look at that crackle effect. I love that. I think it's so pretty. Oh, I'm just in love with that. It really does remind me of like a chippy piece of wood, or if you can't guess what we're making, we're going to make a little birdhouse, so a chippy birdhouse. But look how amazing that worked. I think this might be my new favorite thing to do. Once that's dry, we're going to put that to the side, and I'm going to grab 2 tumbling tower blocks, and I am going to faux stain them by taking a baby wipe and dipping it into my Waverly Antique wax, and I am going to just rub it all on. Now, then I'm going to take, now this is actually a handle from one of the foam brushes, and I cut it down just a little bit, and now I'm going to sand the bottom, and after that I'm going to faux wax this little piece as well. Now you can use a dowel, you can use whatever you have that's kind of short and round like that. Anything works. So now you're going to get your little birdhouse, and we're going to kind of make like the little awning here. So you're going to use the tumbling tower blocks, and you're going to hot glue them down at an angle. Now before you glue the dowel on, we need to make like a little hole or fake hole of where the bird would sit. So to do this, I just took a little paint bottle, and I'm simply going to use it to trace out my circle. So I'm going to trace it around, and then I'm going to take a very small brush, and I'm going to use some black paint and just paint it in. And then you are left with a cute little fake hole for your fake bird to sit in. After that's dry, you're going to take your little dowel and you're just going to simply hot glue it underneath that little hole for the little bird. perch, I guess, where your bird would actually sit. So next I grabbed this sheet of stickers from the Dollar Tree. Now all of my pieces today are going to be just very subtle, very pastel and dainty. I just didn't want anything loud because when I think of spring, I just think of airy and the pastel colors and flowers and just very, simple. So I am just going to take the flowers off of this sheet and I'm going to start arranging them on the bottom and then also on the top. Now the bottom you could probably skip because I actually changed my mind of what I was going to do with this halfway through, but it was after I put the stickers on. And for what I did, you can't even see them, but you could probably put them other places on your little bird house. Now, there were like little stickers of eucalyptus stems, so I am just using that just to go ahead and build up a cute little flower display down at the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing on the top as well. Although in the final shots, you're going to see that I changed out the sticker on top. There was one on that sheet that said hope, and I just thought that that would be perfect for spring because that kind of represents spring. Just things in bloom, things popping up again, and it just new life and new hope. Now, some of my stickers were hanging over the bottom and the sides, so I just used my sanding block to take off the excess sticker. Now, I did decide to take a small brush and paint the sides of my little birdhouse in the white paint too. This way, the sides will blend in with the front of our little birdhouse, and I thought it looked better like that. Now we're going to make a base for our birdhouse, and I started off with 3 tumbling tower blocks and hot glued them end to end, and then I'm going to faux stain these. Now you are going to see that I'm actually going to add 3 more because I wanted the base to be a little whiter. So then I just did the same thing. I just hot glued 3 tumbling tower blocks end to end, and then I'm actually going to hot glue this little strip, I guess, of tumbling tower blocks to the other one, and then I'm going to faux stain my new little strip there. That way it all blends in. Next comes the fun part. You're going to hot glue your birdhouse down on your base, but in the middle, but towards the back of your base. This is because we are going to add some moss, and that's why I said this is the fun part. So I just doused this with hot glue, and then just going chunk by chunk, I'm going to just add some moss all the way across my base. Now, of course, this is optional. Some people may not want moss, or some people might think it's way too messy or something. I personally love it, and again, it just reminds me of spring. So I'm going to make sure to cover my entire base with moss, and I am making sure to use a lot of hot glue. Next, I'm going to give this a little haircut, and I'm just going to trim around the base. I just didn't want any hanging off the base, if that makes sense, but if it was kind of crazy like near the birdhouse, I was okay with that. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, I'm just giving it a little trim, and lastly, I'm going to add these little eggs from the Dollar Tree. Now, personally, I don't really love that they look plasticky, and I would normally paint these, but I just didn't have time. This green one was painted. I must have used it on a project from before, but I thought that I would hot glue 2 on one side and then 1 on the other, and I thought this came out so adorable. This just screams spring to me, and I love the colors, and nothing beats that crackle effect. I am in love with it. You'll get a better look at it at the end of the video. For my second DIY, I'm going to start off with this love sign. And of course, the first thing we have to do is take off the hanger. And then I'm going to use my my heat gun to heat up the hot glue that was keeping that wreath on there and put that wreath to the side. That's a great wreath to use for another DIY. And then we are going to do some construction. So I got these craft sticks from, I believe it was Lowe's, and these are not the jumbo ones from Walmart, but they're a little bigger than actual popsicle sticks. And what I did was cut one in half. Now, at this point, I am just lining them up to see how many I would need to cover one whole side. So I am just basically cutting them, putting them on the sign, cutting more, putting them on the sign until this side is covered. But I am leaving a little gap in between each one of these little sticks. Real quick, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashley, like I said, and I'm a wife and a mama of two, a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old. And if you love all things home decor and DIYs, you are in the right place. I absolutely love being creative and coming up with different ideas for my home decor around my house. And yes, I actually do use and decorate with the pieces that I make. But I thought that I would make some spring pieces because it has been deceivingly sunny here in Ohio. And I'm sure this is just a tease because our second winter is coming. But hey, you know what? Let's enjoy it while we can. So thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Don't forget to give this video a like. It truly does help my channel to grow and pushes it out there more in YouTube land so more people can see. Okay, so as you can see, I cut enough to cover one whole side, but I am leaving a gap in between each one of my pieces. Now, once I figured out how many I need, and this was, for my specific sign, I needed 12. Then I went ahead and moved, this is me counting. Okay, I don't know why I left that in there. And then I went ahead and just used those same ones to figure out how many I would need for the shorter sides. For my specific sign, I needed 4. So what I'm going to do is cut enough of these popsicle sticks in half to cover this entire sign going all the way around. So it came out to 32 halves of these popsicle sticks. So I am just going to continue to measure and cut until I have 32 halves. Next, this is when you're going to get early onset arthritis, but you are going to create a point on the top of each one of your little halves of the popsicle stick. Can you guess what we're constructing or putting together? Now, once you cut one and you get it to how you like, you can use that to trace on the rest. And then again, you're just going to, trace and cut until they are all cut into little fence posts. After you have all your pieces cut, you are going to take the sanding block and you are just going to sand each one of them on both sides. Next, you're going to line them back up again on your sign. And you're just at this point using the sign to again just make sure that you have your spacing figured out. So I went ahead, put one on either end and then one towards the middle, and then I'm going to just arrange the rest of them in between. Now, I did not measure or anything, the little gap in between. I just kind of used my judgment, but what I did make sure to do was put the sticks with my pen marks that I used to trace facing up, because this is actually going to be the back of our little fence. So that way I figured, well, you won't see the, the pen marks. So now I'm going to go ahead and arrange all of these pieces and make sure that I ended up with 12, because then I know I had pretty much the same spacing as I did before. And once I have that all figured out, I'm going to take a mini popsicle stick and I'm going to hot glue it, not exactly in the middle of these posts, but towards the top, as you see there. Now, hindsight is 20/20, and I should have hot glued another one kind of towards the bottom more to give it more stability. But you know what I ended up doing was fine, and it's holding up well, so I'm not too worried about it. But if you want to, you definitely could. So one thing you do want to make sure is that as you're gluing, all the sticks are even at the bottom. Now, look what happens here, and I kept this in here just to make you aware of it. When I glued the second one, it just so happened that it went all the way to the end of one of the posts. Well, that's not going to work for me because I have to attach the next popsicle stick to that same post. I hope that makes sense. So what I did was, you saw that I took it off. I cut off a little bit of that stick. So then that way there's room on that same post to go ahead and start with another popsicle stick. Then I'm going to keep just hot gluing my little popsicle sticks all the way across until all of my little fence posts are all connected. And I am checking and double checking, you see me doing it as we go, that they are even and lined up at the bottom. That way, when we construct what we're about to construct, it's all even and looks good. Look how cute this little fence post came out. Oh, I just think it's adorable. So now we need to create another one to go on the other side. To do this, I just lined up more craft sticks underneath. That way I had my spacing right. And this seemed to work out pretty well. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to line them all up. And then I'm just going to go in with those mini craft sticks and just start gluing all of my posts together. Now for the sides, I'm going to use the board again just to make sure that I have them all lined up and my spacing is correct. And then once I do, I'm just going to keep it on the board, and then I'm going to use my mini popsicle sticks to go ahead and hot glue these together. Now, luckily, one mini craft stick covered all four, so that's great, and that was super easy to do. Then again, you're going to need another one. So what I did was actually lay this down and then lay my craft sticks over just like that, and then just glue it together. And that's it. All right, so now you're going to want to give all of your fence posts, including the craft sticks underneath, a coat of white paint. Now, I did not paint the back. I only painted the front and kind of around the sides. And I guess I didn't give this like a full coat. If some of that wood was showing through, I was okay with that because it's a little rustic and, you know, it's an old fence post. It's been worn. It's been through something. And I only gave all of these pieces just one coat of the Waverly chalk paint in white. I just feel like that was good enough. All right, so once everything was painted and everything was dried, I realized that if we glued this on that side as is, you would be able to see what's on the inside of this little box we're going to make. And I didn't like that. So to fix this, I am just using white cardstock, and we are just going to cover the inside, or the bottom part, I guess. I don't know. You can see what I'm doing. It's kind of hard to explain. But we're just going to hot glue cardstock down at the bottom so you can't see through those posts. And this will make more sense in just a minute. So hang with me. Like I said, these are a little time consuming, but they do all come together beautifully. So I'm going to do this on all my pieces until I have all of the bottoms covered. Now, if I were to go back and do this again, I would actually use wood and paint it the same color white, because there are different whites in this. But, you know, this is what I had on hand, and this is just what I wanted to use. But you could use like paint sticks or something. That would even work. But just use what you have. I mean, this worked good enough, and, you know, it is what it is. One thing you definitely want to make sure though is that it is all even on the bottom. So if I cut my cardstock a little too long, I just used my little knife and cut it, just, cut the excess off, because you do want this to sit evenly on the bottom. And like I said, this will all make sense in a minute. Then I did decide to go in and paint the sides of my sign in that white paint too, just that way, in case any of it showed through, it will blend in. Once my sign was dry, we're going to take our long piece and we are going to put some hot glue at the bottom and hot glue it to the side of our sign. And like I said, we are creating a box, so we are just going to simply hot glue all of our sides up. And I was not stingy with the hot glue. I made sure that I put a lot of glue on there. That way this would stay up, and we are going to reinforce it using some tumbling tower blocks in just a minute. But I also did go through and put a line of hot glue going on the inside, but like on top too, if that makes sense. Basically what I'm doing right here. So I am going to continue to put on my sides, but it was a little wobbly. So this is when I said I'm going to go in and I'm going to use some tumbling tower blocks to just kind of butt up against this fence post. Now, don't be stingy on these. You're not going to be able to see them, so line them up. Put as many as you think you need for this not to fall in. Do it. Just put as many as you think you need. You don't need to paint them. It doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't have to look pretty, but just make sure to reinforce all of your sides. So now I'm just going to continue with hot gluing my sides onto my sign and reinforcing with some tumbling tower blocks. And I'm telling you, these blocks worked really well. You're going to see that I add even more down in this because I really wanted it to be stable. Okay, once your box is constructed, now this is your time to get creative. So I took some foam pieces here, and because we are going to make a floral arrangement. Now, I am not good at this. I never claimed to be a florist. I just don't have the patience for it sometimes. But I actually kind of thought this one came out pretty cute. So what I'm doing is I just cut these pieces down just to go ahead and line up inside of my box. You're going to see in a minute, end up hot gluing these pieces down because they kept moving on me. And then I'm just going to simply go in with these frosted picks from the Dollar Tree. And these are my absolute favorite florals from the Dollar Tree or anywhere really. And these are all over my house in the spring and Easter and even summer seasons because I just love these. So, okay, so like I said, before I put my florals in, I did go in and hot glue them down. And then I'm just going to cut all of my florals off of the actual big stem though with my wire cutters, and then just go to town and just start plugging all of them in. Now, after I put the flowers in, I did realize that you could still see the foam kind of through the fence posts on the side, but also above too. So I'm just taking this green moss and I'm just going to tuck it just to hide whatever I could see, wherever I could see the foam. Now, I did go in with with a popsicle stick to kind of push it down around the foam where you might be able to see it from the sides, but I just did this until all of the foam was covered. I mean, as far as I could tell. And that's it. There is my cute flower arrangement. How adorable. For my last DIY, we're going to be making a spring book stack, and I'm just going to start off with this Valentine's book stack. I've actually had this in my stash for a very long time, so I thought, you know what, it's time to use it. So I am just going to take the bow that came on it. I'm going to take it off, and then I'm going to give this entire thing a good coat of white Waverly chalk paint. Now I am making sure for the front part and the sides not to get any of that paint in the slats there, like in the indents, because I do want these to look like three separate books are stacked on each other. So just try not to get any paint in those little slats. All right, so for the bottom slat, I thought I would do something different as opposed to just painting it. So I had this tissue paper, and so I thought I would use this to Mod Podge down on the bottom slat. So I'm simply just going to cut off a strip that would cover the front and both sides. And then I'm going to take my Mod Podge and put a nice thin, even coat on the front. We're going to work in sections here. Then once that's covered, I'm just going to take my tissue paper and just simply push it on there. Now you want to make sure to line up the tissue paper to where that slat is. Obviously you don't want to go over that, and I'm just very carefully just taking my finger and rubbing it on there so that way it's all pushed down. Now to get off the excess tissue paper, I'm just going to use my sanding block and just carefully sand in a downward direction, and I mean carefully. And then I'm just going to rip the rest off and then sand off whatever was left. After the front is done, I'm going to move to the sides, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a nice even layer of Mod Podge down and then put my tissue paper down carefully and then sand it off until all three of my sides are covered. For the middle slat, I decided just to create a mixture of yellow paint and white paint to make it a very pale yellow. Now you can't really tell, maybe in the close-up at the end, but there are little tiny pale yellow dots on this tissue paper, so I thought that I would just try to make that same color and just, that way it all coordinated. Now, of course, I'm going to paint the front and then both sides, trying not to get in that slat. And then for the top, I'm going to mix pink paint with white to make a very pale pink. So, and this is very pale. I did not already have these colors in my stash or else I would use them. So that's why I had to create my own. But for the pink, I had to not only paint the front and the sides, but I painted the top of this book stack too. So when I was done painting my pink on, I really did not like the yellow. It just kind of stuck out. So I just created another mixture to make it even more pale, and look at the difference. This is what I was going for, in the beginning. So I'm really glad that I went back and did that. So I just went ahead and repainted over that bright yellow. Don't be afraid to, do that. I mean, paint covers everything. So just slap some paint on and you'll be good. So once all my paint was dry, I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to take this kind of like cream beigey hemp, and I'm going to hot glue one end to the bottom of my book stack, and then I'm just going to wrap it around a few times, staying on the same side. I am staying towards the side, and then I'm going to cut off the bottom and hot glue it to the bottom of the stack. Now you do want to make sure to pull tight, that way it doesn't unwind. And then I'm just going to create a small little bow and hot glue that to the top of my little, hemp right on the top. You'll see here. Now, yes, you do see a little butterfly there. I was going to use that. However, I never did. That would be cute on a spring project as well. And I do have a few more ideas for some spring DIYs. So stay tuned, because I think I might try to pump out another video really soon, which is why you should turn on your notifications and subscribe, because you don't want to miss it. All right, so I just went ahead and hot glued that bow on top of my little bundle there. And then I'm going to take these really small wooden beads and I am just going to add them to the tails of my bow. And that is one thing I forgot to mention. You do want to kind of keep your tails longer so that they actually kind of drape over the sides or the front of your book stack. So then I'm just going to add 2 beads on each tail, and I did make one tail a little shorter than the other. You'll see when it's laid out, but that's why that way I had some dimension and it wasn't just so perfect on there. And then I just went ahead and cut off the rest of the hem. Now, I was going to stop here. I really was. I didn't want any words or anything. But then I'm like, it needs something. So I decided to add some words, but I did not have white sticker letters, and I could have used my Cricut, but I was being lazy. So I did have these though. So I'm just going to paint Hello Spring, so every letter of Hello Spring, in 2 coats of white paint. This works great. If you don't have the color you need, I highly recommend doing it. So easy. Then I'm just going to take my little Cricut tool here, the little weeding tool, just to make it a little easier to take those stickers off of the pad there. Now, where's my letters? I don't know. They blend in big time. So I don't know if this was really worth it. I kind of knew they were going to blend in, but I didn't think this much. And you still can't even see it when you're close. I can't even say, oh, you can't see it from here. But when you're close, nope, you still can't see it. So keep them black if you wanted to. I just didn't want that stark black. This is one of those things that I didn't know what I wanted. I could go back and take them off. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments what you think about adding the words. Now, to make sure that my letters were down really well, I just took some Mod Podge and Mod Podged over that and the tissue paper, basically the whole thing except for the top. And then that's it to this book stack, and I thought it came out so springy and so cute. And now it's time for the final reveal, where you can see a better look of all 3 of my DIYs.
You were my best friend, didn't care about the rules, good on the weekends. I'll be in fools, drifting to deep space, so brave and so stupid, just like the movies. I was gonna stay in the fight with you, just thinking we would do this until we couldn't do it. Each and every high, every night with you, you and me so clueless. Singing along to nothing matters, stray around like nighttime rumors. We were in too deep, in your worn-out sweaters, thinking we'll be young forever, driving in your mom's old hatchback, and we were in too deep.
I think that these all came out so beautiful and just my style for Easter and spring. And of course, you could carry these on through summer as well, but you're gonna have to let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite and if you're going to be trying out any of these today. And I want to thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications. And until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye.